the floor has fallen out for Nebraska and USC. Nebraska is visiting USC on Saturday. Nebraska has lost 3 in a row. They are 5-4. They got at USC, then they have Wisconsin and at Iowa. It's not out of the question they lose their final 6 if they can't beat USC. Certainly, they're not going to be. I don't know what you make out of Wisconsin at this point, but I don't know what you make out of Nebraska. And then you have USC, which is 4-5. They need 2 wins, and they've got Nebraska coming. They're at UCLA. We talked a ton about last week and on the last show about what Deshaun Foster's got them pumping a little bit and a little momentum there. And they got Notre Dame at the end of the year. They got to win 2 of those 3. Not even making a bowl for either of these teams would be that's a tough season. I mean, that is a tough season at both places, Pat.
Sure is. I mean, Nebraska hadn't made a bowl in 100 years, but this season, I think I even said it on the podcast at the beginning of the year. If they don't make a bowl, just bulldoze the stadium, because it just seemed impossible for them to miss this year. Second year with Matt Rule, Dylan Raiola comes in, and the promise was all there with him, and they'd added some other parts. But after getting that 5-1 start, it was 5-2. I don't remember, but anyway, they have really fallen off. They've averaged 14.5 points over their last 4 games, which is why they demoted Marcus Satterfield, their offensive coordinator, and they're bringing in Dana Holgerson, the thin-haired mullet man who was the head coach at a couple different at Houston and West Virginia, and is one of the classic, Mike Leach kind of let it all hang loose offensive genius guys. And he's now coming in to take the reins of the offense, which just smacks of desperation to me. They hired him last week. This week, he's the offensive coordinator. Okay, cool.
Mid-season change. What was the nickname you just gave him? Thinning-haired mullet? Was that it?
Thin-haired mullet man.
Yeah.
Print the shirts, Dan. Print the shirts.
Well, Gundy is sitting there going, hey, man, my locks are thick. That's the thing.
He's not thin-haired. Yeah,
no.
That's true.
Gundy wins all mullet competitions because it's full. But Dana, it's going almost gone, but he's not giving up. So anyway, him with Raiola, and we'll see. Raiola apparently allegedly hurt his back, but I think they're expecting him back this week. But the offense has just kind of gone south there after getting to the point of going to a bowl game. This is the exact same thing they did last year. It fell apart at the end of the season and ended up with 5 wins. But then USC has had their own desperation panic button where they benched Miller Moss, which I think guarantees he's going to transfer. It certainly invites him to transfer. And they're going with Jaden Mayava, who was really good last year as a freshman at UNLV. And we'll see if he can spark them. But again, desperate times, desperate measures here to see if they can pull something out of these last 3 games. And both coaches maybe tacitly, too, trying to point a finger at someone other than themselves for the struggles of their teams.
Gosh, Nebraska was a team that I thought would not just be in a bowl game, right, but that would be competing for a playoff spot. Actually, they felt like the dark horse type of program, and year 2 under Matt Rule, and he's had really good year 2s wherever he's been in these rebuilding efforts, and the black shirts and the defense seem to be back. And I think Indiana broke them. It was they had a bye week going into that game. They were 5-1, and there was I was talking to some people within the Nebraska program before the game against the Hoosiers, and there was real optimism that they would win that game. And not only did they not win it, but they lost 56-7, and they just haven't really been the same. I mean, they played well against Ohio State, right, but then they lost to UCLA, and 7 years without, I believe, 7 years without a bowl game. Back to 2016 when Mike Riley was the coach, and they just can't seem to get over that hump. And they've been at that 5-7 mark a couple times, over the course of that, and just couldn't get that the extra win. USC, maybe Minnesota broke them. I mean, go back to that game against Minnesota where they had the lead in the fourth quarter and couldn't hold it. And Minnesota scored on the goal line to win the game. And, of course, USC story of their year, right, has been that. They just couldn't hold a lead. I think each game, 5 games, they had a lead in the fourth quarter that they blew. So, yeah, at Nebraska, you're pointing the finger at the offense and the play calling like they obviously have. And at USC, you're pointing the finger at the defense. And the way these two teams started the year, remember USC beat LSU, got off to a 2-0 start, and Nebraska was 3-0, and it just felt like these were two potential playoff teams,